Hear me now. Am
Yeah, you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, great story, great story.
Thanks.
So, a lot of people would.
What are you guys giggling about?
What?
What are they giggling about?
I don't know. I don't know.
Cool story, bro. Maybe that's
Yeah,
why.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So a lot of I'm trying to get back like to being strict and normal right now. A lot of people would probably think that yeah, Elliot he's been huge for the last couple of years and he's been putting in the work for the last 2 or 3 years and it's an overnight success maybe even. How long have you been putting on videos and when did you see the real growth of your business and your YouTube career?
Dude, you've been around long enough to know that a lot of everything that we're doing is brand spanking new. Nothing that we're doing is our parents didn't do it. They couldn't have
Nope.
taught us how to do this in school. There was no career path for an internet marketer, much less a YouTube celebrity. And so when I look at my life, I look in awe because it was like there's no way to have prepared for this. No one could have told me that when I started filming the workouts that I was doing for with my clients that I would upload them to a platform that people would see them worldwide and they would attract the attention of millions. That like never crossed my mind. And the reason why I say that is because those of you who are in the audience, I want you to remember that although we have our goals, we have our plans, and of course the universe has its goals and plans as well, we can never foresee all of the celestial aid that will come our way. You know, I might sound like a hippie, but YouTube's fucking magic. That's
Yeah.
celestial aid to me. That's I could have never planned that. I could have never have asked for it. I could have never have dreamt it. But the universe provided by giving me a platform where my big mouth could be heard worldwide. And while you're sitting there building your business or thinking about your future, remember that although you can plan the path, you can imagine the path, you can visualize the path, there's absolutely no way that you know what the path is going to bring until you start walking on it because magical shit happens.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. So, and when did you see that it really took off, and what did it do for you? So, I mean, how long have you been putting on YouTube videos? For like 7 years or something?
Yeah, so I guess the reason why I went that direction was with my answer was because we talk about overnight success and then we want to become an overnight success and we have an idea about what overnight success is, so we go hard and have an expectation for when it's going to manifest itself. But that's very rarely the case, and it's been 10 years for me. Even 5 years ago, I couldn't have predicted what I'm experiencing right now. So, and 10 years is a drop in the bucket also. When you think about our parents, if they built business, or our grandparents, or generations before, I was watching a documentary on the men who built America about Andrew Carnegie and Rockefeller and Ford. And these guys, they spent decades just trying to get off the ground. They spent what would be the equivalent of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars today just to get their idea off the ground. So 10 years, although it might sound like a long time to some of you guys sitting there because we live in a microwave, get everything now culture and time, is a drop in the bucket. And so it seems like it was just yesterday.
Awesome, awesome. So, any questions from the audience? Who else is a big Elliot Hulse fan and wants to ask a question? Who over here? So we have this guy over here, and
He's
he's
the
squatting
only
like
big Elliott Hulse fan, just one.
not just one. Yeah. Here's the
I got to
mic.
get over
You
there
can
more
stand up and
often.
look at.
Hi, Elliot.
What's up, bud?
I just got a question. How did you stay motivated during that time that you didn't get that following that you have right now? Like with the negativity and all, how did you stay motivated during that time?
Dude, that's like asking a gazelle. How does he stay motivated when a lion is chasing his ass? Yeah, there's no motivation is needed when you've got the fear of not being able to put food on the table for your family. I moved down to Florida. It was just me and my wife. Now there's six of us. I have four children. So, and the youngest is 5. So if you can think about the timeline, I was building my business at the same time that my wife and I were popping out babies, and I had bills to pay. Yeah, I had bills to pay and mouths to feed. So as far as motivation is concerned, I didn't need any. I didn't need any motivation. I just needed the fact that survival was the only option for me.
What I like about you is that you're an athlete, you're a businessman, but you're almost like the primary thing is you're a family man. And I mean, you've been with Colleen for like what 20 years, right?
22 years, yeah.
22 years, and a lot of people look at you and they'll be like, yeah, he's all over the place and like outrageous and like smart and all this stuff. But if you know you really well, you're just really a family man, and family is really important to you. Can you elaborate on that a little bit if you combine that with business? So what does your business provide for your family or vice versa?
Well, I often quote Dan Kennedy by saying, choose your lifestyle first and then build your business around it. And I truly believe that. As many people admire me and love my videos, the fact is I started making them and I started my business for one reason only. And that was to take care of my family. That was to make money. There's no question about it that I love what I do, but I needed dollars. I needed money. I needed food. So when it comes to my vocation, when it comes to my career, when it comes to my work, when it comes to my success, it is completely surrounding. It branches out of. It is the fruit of my love for my family. That's first and foremost. And my love for myself. Let me put it that way too, because my family is an extension of me. So I love myself enough to know what I want, what I don't want. I love my family enough to provide for them first, to take care of them in the way that I feel they should be cared for. We do a lot of non-traditional parenting, and because I decided what my core values were first. I decided what I love, what my family needs, and then my business has to fit around it. So Ilko, as much as I love you, and we've met several times, I've been to Europe, you've come to Florida to hang out with me. This was an incredible gift, your invitation to come and even pay for Colleen and I to come and speak at your event. And I would love to have done it, but I had to and we almost jumped on it too. Colleen's like, well, we're going to get to go to Amsterdam for free. And she didn't want to pass it up. But I had to, because I had to sit with the core values, and it had nothing to do with the money. It had nothing to do with my love for Ilko, and it had everything to do with the fact that yesterday was Thanksgiving. The whole weekend I spent with my on my business because I had the Strength Camp Challenge. I had a big eventful weekend, and I couldn't see leaving my children for another 3, 4, 5 days for anything. That nothing could have pulled me away. And so there's just an example of it.
So talk about your core values. What are those, and how did you decide to come up with those core values?
Well, I once heard that the best way to know someone's core values is to look at their bank statement, right? Because we can pay lip service to any core value we want, and most of the time it's just what we aspire to, which is good. It's what we hope for and what we aim for, but 9 times out of 10, it's not exactly what our core values are. And if you're sitting here listening to this right now, I'd invite you to pull out your October bank statement and look at where you spend the majority of your money. And if you've got abundance, if you've got excess, where do you, and which we all, living in the type of societies that we do, we've got more than our needs met. So we got to look at where we spend lavishly, right? I'm not talking about just being able to put a morsel in your mouth. I'm talking about what kind of morsels do you put in your mouth. So for example, for me, I spend extra on organic food and supplements. So health is a core value to me. I spend extra for the type of water that me and my family drink. I spend extra so that I can have a gym to train myself, and Colleen's actually at the gym right now. I spend extra so that my children can go to gymnastics lessons. I spend extra on their health. I spend extra on my health. So health and fitness is a top priority for me. It's been my experience, and I truly believe, and I'm convinced, that we cannot live the life of our dreams. We cannot be the strongest versions of ourselves. We cannot fulfill our potential if we're ill, if we're not healthy, if we're not vibrant, vital, and buzzing with sexual energy, which is bodily energy. It's exercise, it's eating well. So that's right at the top of the list, and I could continue by explaining what else I spend my money on. I spend quite a bit on education. So when you look at my bank statement, Amazon, which is Amazon.com, has become the devil with its little one-click button, and so I can buy any book anytime I want from my iPhone. So you mentioned a book right now, and I go like this: I hit the app, and I buy it. So I've got hundreds of books that I haven't even read yet, but I value information, I value ideas, I value education. So I very willingly spend on books, on courses, on seminars. Often, I built my business because I spent money on education. I built my business as a professional, meaning I spent a lot of time on studying exercise science and holistic health, and a lot of money on that. And I spent a lot of money on studying marketing. I spent a lot of money on studying philosophy. So those are two core values that I think a lot of you guys, a lot of those who are watching this can relate to, and can judge whether or not, they're aligned with my core values. Are they the same, or your values different by looking at your bank statement.
Awesome. So any other questions? Over here, Nienke is going to ask you a question. You can look in the camera over there. Yes.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, so I hear you. I'm sorry, I don't know you. I'm not that into the fitness, but I think you're really cool though.
Thanks.
But I do hear that you have a lot of YouTube videos, and we mentioned yesterday, we spoke about it yesterday, there's always a lot of down thinking and haters and everything going on. So how do you create a thick skin, or how do you go on, even when there's people, saying bad stuff about you? Or maybe they're not, but
No, they do. There are quite a few people who got negative things to say about Elliott Hulse, and that's okay. I think Oscar Wilde once said that art doesn't express anything except itself, meaning that it really is subjective. And when we're entrepreneurs, we're also artists. When we're building businesses, especially the businesses that we build in the day and age that we build them, we're artists. We're giving the world our love for fitness, for philosophy, for business, for whatever wizardry or gadget you've got. It's obviously going to more than likely come from some deep love within. Even if it's purely commerce based, even if your business is purely bottom line driven and dollar driven, it still comes from a deep desire and a love within. And I'm going to label it as art. Art is taking something, creating something out of nothing. When we use that perspective, when I take that perspective of my videos being art, my products being art, my blog posts, which today I wrote a blog post about art. If you go to elliottHulse.com, we've got to realize that there are going to be people that don't like it, and that's okay. You can go to the finest museum that the world has to offer, and there are going to be people who just don't dig it. There are going to be people that look at it and say, "Ugh, I can't believe they call this art. This is trash," and that's okay. Because it's just not resonating with the right people. So what you got to do is you got to realize that your wizardry, your gadget, your business, your poetry, your art, your music, your gift is for some people and not for others. And if you start letting the people who it's not for dictate your moods and dictate how you go about your creative process, then you're creating for no one. Then you're really you're denying yourself, and you're denying the universe, its expression through you, and you're denying the people who really would benefit from your art, because you're allowing the negativity to color your attitude and behavior.
I think one of the worst things you can do as an entrepreneur, but also the worst things you can do as an artist, is to adapt to the negative comments or adapt to the people who don't dig your art. A lot of people they adapt to people that don't dig it, and that way their art becomes average. And it's I think it's one of the worst things you can do. So never adapt to people who are hating on you or whatever. Just be yourself, and that's what I love about you as well. It's like if you look at your videos, but also in real life, is that you really are who you are. You don't really adapt. You're just really you're there. And it's so funny. When we were in your gym, when you do the exercise, you're screaming, you're yelling, whatever, and then there's the mailman, he's coming, and you're still screaming and yelling. It's just really who you are, and you don't adapt to the mailman, or it's really who you are. That's what's really powerful, I think, as well. So, any other questions? Yep, over here, Philippe. So Philippe, he's an amazing guy. He's from Belgium, and yesterday we had Dean Jackson on. So. And Dean Jackson, Philippe is a big fan of Dean Jackson,
and of Elliott.
And he loves Elliott. And
Thank you.
but he got a selfie on stage with Dean Jackson. But you're not gonna get one from Elliott.
No. Elliott, I heard you talking about love, the love for your family, love for yourself, love for your business. On one of your videos, I heard you explain the 4 archetypes, like the lover in yourself, the king in yourself, and what is it, the warrior, and the 4th, excuse me,
Magician.
The magician, yeah. Can you please elaborate on who are you when, and how do you switch from one piece of yourself to the other one? And how can I make, let's say, the warrior in myself stronger?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The first thing I would say, or I'd like to share, is what the
Stay standing, Philippe. Yeah.
king, warrior, magician, lover idea, where it comes from. Those of you who studied psychology, you may be familiar with Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a student of Sigmund Freud, but he was of the mystical mindset, meaning that like his psychology methods revolved around symbology, dream interpretation, symbol interpretation, story and mythology interpretation, and he recognized a cross-cultural reference or a recurring theme. He would call these archetypes in mythology, in religion, in philosophy, and even in movies, even in pop culture. We see a lot of these recurring themes. Joseph Campbell, who was also heavily influenced by Jung, called one of these archetypes the hero's journey. And we're familiar with the hero's journey because we watch movies like Star Wars and The Matrix and what's the one with Bilbo Baggins, The Hobbit, and things like that. So we're familiar with this recurring motif. Interesting thing about the hero's journey is that it's also a recurring motif in our individual lives. So that's an aside. Jung also had another student by the name of Robert Moore who, during the men's movement, maybe like in the 80s or 70s, basically when men started taking back their love, started taking back their spirituality, and kind of started dropping the hard shell or armor that we've been taught to carry for so many generations, he realized that men are far more than just what is portrayed in popular culture as oftentimes as tyrants, aggressive, mean, careless. A lot of shadow examples of what a mature masculine is. So Moore discovered that we can find balance in the masculine psyche. We can find that balance in the human psyche by categorizing 4 general themes of our ego, our psyche, our character. And these 4 general themes are king or queen, our sovereign capacity, our capacity for order, our capacity for generativity or generosity, our capacity for planning for the future, particularly future generations. These are very kingly and sovereign characteristics and virtues, right? I've got my list here. I wish I had it in front of me. But then you also got the warrior, you've got your magician, and you've got your lover. And they balance out to create these equal quarters. Your magician is very much tied to what you guys are doing here today, which is learning, which is your skills, your craft, your even the magician is also related to objectivity and spirituality, higher thinking, intuition, things of that nature. And we all have that, just like we all have the ordering aspect of the king. We all have the generous, generative, creative aspect of kingness. We also have the objectivity and, like I described, the wisdom and the intellect of the magician that needs to be recognized. We also have the warrior aspect of us, which is what you ask about. So I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to go to the lover because you also mentioned lover. The lover aspect of us, the lover aspect is often lost through a disconnect with our sensuality. That's the very first thing that I'd like to share, because that's one that I think can heal us all, is getting in touch with our feelings, right? So we're imbalanced when we can't feel sad, when we can't cry, when we can't laugh ecstatically, when we can't find ourselves able to get angry when we should get angry. You know, some of us are so dissociated that we're ambivalent most of our lives, and that's a wound in the lover category. When we heal our lover, we have the ability to love ourselves enough to experience the sensuality of life and share sensuality with other people, meaning sexuality and love in that way, but also community, you know, various different types of intimacy with self and other. And then the warrior, which is kind of the opposite of the lover in many ways, but they need each other in order to balance. Your warrior aspect is very much related to boundaries and creative aggression. The type of aggression that arises in a balanced and mature warrior is the type of aggression that helps us want to protect children. You know, that feeling that it's our responsibility to do right for people who can't take care of themselves. The discipline associated with the warrior also makes us get up every day to do the thing that we set out to do, especially if the sovereign aspect of ourselves has a vision. You get up every day, well, that vision is important, but you get up every day because you said you were going to. And that's what a warrior does. He does what he's supposed to do, whether he likes it or not, because he's associated with discipline. He's also associated with boundaries. A person, a man or a woman, would have a hard time even accessing their lover if they couldn't protect their lover with boundaries, meaning that the warrior has to say no sometimes. Like, so for example, my love for my family and my love for myself caused my warrior to exercise himself by asserting that I would not be attending this conference live. As much as I would like to, my warrior had to set up a boundary and say, hey, man, if you're going to be the king and the magician and really protect your lover, then your warrior needs to stand up and say no when it's time to say no. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I wanted to give a big overview of this aspect of relating to ourselves, relating to our egos, and realizing that when we find ourselves not enjoying life, when we find ourselves not enjoying relationships, when we find ourselves not moving forward in life, when we find ourselves in any way, shape, or form being less than the strongest version of ourselves, there's a good chance it's an imbalance between these four general quarters of our psyche.
Wow. Thank you.
So, Philippe, why did you ask the question?
Whatever the reason is, I think this wisdom is of such a high order, the world would be the world will be a much better place thanks to this wisdom you are teaching young guys and girls.
So you asked specifically, like, how can I almost like unleash my inner warrior? That was sort of the question you asked.
Exactly. At the times, at the right times.
Yeah.
Well,
like God.
the warrior carries two things for sure that you know a warrior is going to have. He's going to have a sword, right? And he's going to have a shield. And of course, you know, it could be a bulletproof jacket and it could be a Uzi. It doesn't matter. The fact is he's got a weapon that reaches out and he's got a protective mechanism that's associated with him. And anytime we are, and I like to use that metaphor so we can always look at whether or not we are building something, doing something, being aggressive. Aggressive is one of these beautiful words that has also received a lot of negative association with it because it sounds like beating people up or fighting or yelling, when really aggression is the opposite of regression, meaning it's the moving forward. Anytime you're trying to move forward in something in your life, you're being a warrior. Those of you guys who are there right now, you're absorbing like a magician. You're taking it all in so that you can work with it. But ultimately, you're going to leave this workshop and you're going to go and you're going to get to work. You're going to start writing, you're going to start making videos, you're going to start creating your product, you're going to start talking to people. That's you being a warrior by getting out there and being devoted to your vision. So that's a sword, that's an aggressive behavior. The other one is your shield. And of course, these are just paradigms. So I like symbols. I like to visualize. So I visualize a shield, and the shield represents protection and boundaries. As much as we love our art, as much as we want to build our business, as much as we want to share and love and build, we're unable to do that if our walls aren't strong enough to keep outside influences from getting us off track. I think I once heard that the greatest enemy to greatness is good. Good is the enemy to great. Well, most of the time when we're setting up boundaries, it isn't against people who are, it can be, but isn't always against people who are trying to hurt us or take away from us or steal our time or energy. Oftentimes it's just a matter of knowing what you really want, what's great, and being strong enough to say no and putting up a shield. So just exercising your ability to say no goes a long way in strengthening the warrior aspect.
I love it. There's one of your videos. You say, "Be a no man, don't be a yes man," and I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
It's a great question, Philippe. Thank you. Any other questions? Who's willing to? Okay, Maureen over here. I mean, if somebody's used to answering questions, it's Elliott. So.
Hi, my name is Maureen. You just mentioned about building your business around your lifestyle. You also mentioned that you have 4 kids. Can you perhaps share how a regular workday looks like for you? So what do you do?
Well, it depends, right? Because with children, it's very hard to have a year-round regular schedule. I mean, for one thing, Ilko knows this because he's got small ones. You ain't sleeping like you think you should, right? So you might plan for what you're going to be doing. You might have all these grand ideas and creativity, but when you wake up after a long night dealing with a child who chose not to sleep that night for whatever reason, sometimes your plans go out the window. So one of the things I've had to learn was to be flexible enough to react on the fly, but also be aware that what you think are rituals and habits that will carry you towards your success, they too also have to be adjusted to in order to deal with your family, in order to love your family and to honor your family. So for example, I'll say this. The past 4 days, today's my first day back in my office. The past 4 days, we were sleeping in tents outdoors. In Florida, it's still pretty warm, so we go camping. And so my children and I were out at the beach, we're at the park, all day and all night long, sleeping in a tent, getting up the next morning, lighting fires, barbecuing, all of which takes time away from my business, right? And like you said before, and like I said before, you got to build your lifestyle around your business. So I knew very early on, especially since the internet was a gift that we all got during our lifetimes, that I was going to build a business that allows me to work. And when I say work, it's like, look, I spent 15 minutes in the morning just answering some emails, and I wrote one blog post. Now making this video, it's kind of, I'm on vacation and I'm recording this. So I try to integrate it into my lifestyle. If I can get up an hour earlier while still spending time with my children to do my little bit of work to keep the plate spinning, then I'm fulfilling on that obligation of family first, lifestyle first, and then business goes around it.
Thank you. Over here, there's a question. Anybody else? Yeah, over there. So we'll start here.
Hey, Elliott. I was wondering, what did you learn about your titles, your YouTube video titles during the years? Is there a certain strategy you apply to posting with certain titles?
So I'm going to give you bad advice, I guess, because this is not the norm. And I say bad advice only because this is not what everyone else is doing. It's what I'm doing, and it's working for me. But it might be good advice for you. A friend of mine just told me he spent several $1,000s going to a YouTube workshop. By the way, I was like, dude, I'm your best friend, and you should have just asked me. But he wanted to get a different perspective. He wanted to get a different perspective, which I admire. And I was like, that's good, because I should probably get some new perspectives also. So he went to a workshop or hired a coach to show him how to get more views for YouTube by using keywords and video titles in order to rank in YouTube SEO. Very good idea. I never did it, nor will I ever do it. Because my top videos have titles that read like email subject lines or sales letter headlines. My video titles, and the way I go about it, my video titles and my thumbnail have one job and one job only. And that is to get a freaking click. So if you're a subscriber or if you're looking at something else and you see my picture and you see that headline, I could give two craps about what SEO has done, and I want you to click that. I want you to react. So they're reactive headlines. They're headlines that make you go, or, oh, what's this all about? And want to click. Curiosity, you know?
Awesome. Great advice. Great advice. And over there, so Hassan is going to sprint. Give it up for Hassan again.
Hey Elliott, I don't know if you can see.
Can you come here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi. I'm Rolf. Thank you for being here. I've got a question. You already mentioned creating your titles to get the click. What are some other strategies you use to grow your channel and grow your business?
As far as videos are concerned, the number one thing, any content, if you're creating content, if you're written, video, podcast, the number one thing in my mind is, will people share this? So getting the click is important, but the real bonus is, did I create something that people are willing to show their friends, and are people willing to just click that share button to broadcast it to their Facebook or to their other YouTube subscribers or whatever the case may be? I know a video is successful when it spreads like a virus. And I aim to create videos that people want to share. That's really what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So you talked about Dan Kennedy. You talked about Carl Jung. Who do you learn from? So who do you learn from?
Man, I'm going to sound kind of corny saying this, but I'll back it up with some names. Dude, I'm inspired by everyone. This morning I wrote a blog post, and it revolved around the artists that I've attracted into my life. People who've sent me paintings, people who have come to my gym to create things, and my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter. And that's how I finished the email. The post was to talk about how inspired I am by artists, but my daughter, who is a child who sits down, and when she's inspired, she doesn't even sit down because she gets so excited. When she's inspired either by love for her parents, love for her sisters, love for one of her teachers or someone that she's going to visit, and she makes a gift of her art. And she gets crayons, she might get stickers, she might get paint, and she creates something, either a picture of us or a picture of something she saw today or something that she loves. And all I can do is look at her with awe and say, man, I learned so much just from watching my 6-year-old daughter pour her heart out for the people that she loves through creative expression. So we can really find inspiration, and we can learn from everyone, even negative people in our lives. One of the newest things that I've learned is to first take a deep breath and create space between myself and someone who comes with negative energy, be it someone with a negative comment, even a family member or a friend who, may have either been drinking too much or they just are looking for a fight. By creating space and breathing, stopping for a moment and looking at that person not as a person who's coming to hurt me or someone who's coming to spread negative vibes in my life, because oftentimes we're reactive in that way. It's like, we want to fight back, we want to lash out. But I've found that I learn quite a bit about the other person and about myself when I take that negative energy, neutralize it with space, and then ask, what is it that's bothering you? Or what is this all about? And I learn from them. I learn what's going on in their heart. I learn what's going on in their mind. I also learn how I'm showing up so that they receive me a certain way. So there's learning experiences through people all over the place. Look at people who make mistakes in your life. Well, a lot of times we look at our parents, or we look at religion that we grew up with, right? It might be different in your country, but a lot of us grew up with religion. Christianity kind of pushed on us. But then when we grow up, we can grow resentful. We're resentful of our parents for making us wear ugly clothes or making us go to school or whatever. There's all kinds of resentment, and there's resentment towards religion and things of that nature. But as an adult, if you look back and you create that space and you allow yourself to be completely objective, no feelings at all, and you look at those experiences, you really have to acknowledge how we are who we are today. All the gifts and blessings that we have today come from potentially, I don't even say potentially, I want to say from negatively coloring or negatively colored experiences from our past. Negative is a judgment. So, of course, I'm being a little bit of a philosopher and I'm ranting, I'm talking in circles right now, but my point is that negative people, negative experiences, people who are smaller than us, children, even homeless people, there's always an opportunity to learn from someone if you have on the right glasses, if you can see. So that's my hippie answer.
Awesome, man. It's a great hippie answer.
The people who I learned from, if I just wanted to name drop a little bit, Ilko did a good job, but Paul Chek has been a mentor and a teacher to me for so many years. Although he's been dead for 200 years, Ralph Waldo Emerson has left us a cache of poems and essays that, like, even when I'm feeling lost today, I go back and I read his words. Lao Tzu, who's the founder of Taoism. There's so much wisdom to be learned by brilliant people, dead and alive, that it makes life that much more beautiful and gives us tools to navigate and build in a way that we personally want to.
Cool. So, two more questions, then we're going to wrap up. So who wants to ask a question? So how was Strength Camp Challenge? You did a big event last week. Talk about it a little bit. What did you do?
Man, it was a dream come true. And I mean that literally. Like, I dreamt it. I remember dreaming this. I remember coming up with it 5, 6, 7 years ago, and standing there amongst the 170 athletes, the 1,000 people in attendance, having my wife there and my whole team, and being just awestruck that yet another dream of mine has come true.
So for the people here listening, what did you do? What was the Strength Camp Challenge, and can you talk a little bit what it is and why it was a dream for you and how was it?
Well, the truth is, about 6 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, I tried out for the CrossFit Games. But I'm not cut out for CrossFit apparently because I didn't score so well. So I got upset and I said to myself, I'm going to create my own competition, but it's going to be a strength camp challenge, and it's going to involve a good combination of strength and power. Some conditioning, but a lot of strength and power. And of course, like with, and I say this because those of you who are in the audience who are planting seeds right now, I share this because I want you to know how possible it is, how real it is. But I planted the seed of putting together this thing, and it came to fruition. We had one last year, which was small, and this year got bigger. And my vision for it for next year will be even bigger.
Awesome. So you had athletes and you had, I think, a lot of YouTube celebrities as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of crowd. How many people were there?
About 1,000 people in attendance.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Big party?
We had a big party. Yeah,
Awesome.
It was a good time. So
Cool, cool.
set your dreams, set your goals, and plant those seeds and water them. Everything that I experienced my whole life, I could point to. That's just one of perhaps a dozen that I could point to just today. In other words, like just the past few months or year that have actually, like magic, come to life. So those of you guys who are setting goals, man, do it and water those seeds, and they're going to. If my life is an example, or if my life is any sort of clue that it's possible for all of us, that's what I hope for you guys to walk away from this. Whatever your dream is, plant the seed and it will come true. You just need to water it and care for it every single day, perhaps for 5, 6, 10 years, but it's on its way.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. So again, Elliott, thank you so much, and I really appreciate that you took the time to share your wisdom with all of us. So one more time, give it up for Elliott.
Thanks, guys.
Oké, nou, was dat waardevol of niet? Oké, super. Oké, dus we doen nu even een korte break en daarna gaan we verder met de rest van het programma. Er is niet heel veel meer tijd hierna meer, maar blijf nog even hangen voor het einde. En dat was hem. Dus tot zo. Kwartiertje, dan zijn we weer terug. Thank you, Elliott. It was awesome.
Take care, guys. Have a great
Talk
day.
later.